if you're someone who spends hours at night scrolling, or maybe in the morning, or just can't find enough time to get the things done that you actually want to get done, this video is your sign to stop scrolling and start creating. And I will explain to you exactly why, because I'm not coming into this video as like I am the authority or something like that. No, I'm coming into this video as I am / was in the exact same position as you, and I want to share with you the things that I have learned, the things that have gotten me past that, in hopes that you can use the same thing. So let's start with the beginning, which is just the wasted time and creativity versus consumption, right? I love to tell this story. When I first got started in entrepreneurship, and some of you guys might be in this position right now, I would go on YouTube all the time, right, and consume. I would watch sports videos, music videos, whatever. And then when I started this business, people were like, you got to post on YouTube. You got to post on YouTube. And I go on YouTube and I'm like, how do you freaking post on YouTube? I had no idea. I had never created ever in my life. And so I literally Googled. I was like, how do you post a YouTube video? Now, it turns out there's a button right there at the top. So I figured it out somewhat quickly. And then, of course, it's like, well, how do you change the title? And how do you do X, Y, Z and whatever? And yet so many people, right, are in that same position where you're just consuming all the time. Same thing with Instagram, same thing with Twitter, I don't know, TV, whatever it might be, right? But why does that matter? Like, is that a bad thing? I think yes and no. I mean, in my personal experience, the thing about that consumption isn't that it makes you like a bad person or something. It's that when you consume so much, you lose, this might sound kind of weird, but like you lose a part of you, which is the creativity side of things, right? When we were little, we always used to, come up with imaginary whatever and build things and all that stuff. And then, when you end up at a freaking desk job, you're just sitting there all the time, not necessarily being creative at all. And it's such a massive difference between the two. You lose that part of yourself. And the creativity side of things is like, yeah, it's uncomfortable. You're going to say the wrong thing. It's going to be awkward, but you're putting something out there that's forcing you to improve in every aspect of your life. Like if you sat down and recorded videos like these, which, my videos are not that great, but you learn how to use cameras. You learn how to post things. You learn how to speak in front of a camera. You learn how to hopefully at least somewhat articulate yourself better. You learn all of these things as you go, only by doing, only by repetition. But because the world now is so consumed with the social media and all this stuff, and I'm not trying to sound like an old person either, I'm just trying to be realistic and share my experience, it taints that. And it takes that away from you. And what I found is that was like phase one for me, was I got to get out of this consumption phase, right? And I got to get into this creativity phase. And so that was the first thing. The second thing that I want to talk about is how screen time just affects your entire day. Because if you are trying to start a business, which if you're watching my videos, you're probably at least trying to get into real estate in some form or fashion, your day gets destroyed by screen time. And when I say screen time, I don't mean your screen time at work. I don't mean legitimate activities. I mean straight up scrolling, straight up consuming, whatever it might be. And I want to caveat that by saying, like, I work really hard at this business. I work long hours. And so my excuse was, well, I got to have a way to wind down, right? I got to find a way to, chill out at the end of the day, relax, whatever it might be. And I would take that and I would turn it into hours of scrolling, right? Again, consumption versus creation. And it took away that creativity. It took away all of my time. I would find myself more upset, like you can't, there's so many things like the news. You can't just sit and consume the news all the time. You're going to think the world is ending. Get outside, talk to some people. You realize you're still functional, right? But all of that stuff falls into the realm of like, if you use up that time and it becomes a habit, you don't even realize it's there. So many people come to me and say, oh, I don't have enough time to start a business. I don't have time to do X, Y, and Z. And, not to be offensive, but any of you guys can pull out your phone right now and pull up your screen time. And I think we all know what you're going to see, right? You're going to see that you picked up your phone 100 times today and you spent hours on social media apps and YouTube and whatever else. And it was just all wasted. And that sucks. It sucks that we have found that to be normal, right? But I always think, okay, that kind of level of consumption is normal. You know what else is normal? Divorce, being broke, being unhappy. So I don't want normal in any sense of the word. But if you find that to become your normal, wasting all of that time, then the reality is it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop until you take the action to do something about it. And that's what I'm trying to share in this video. which is the third point, which is that if you want to eliminate your screen time, lessen your screen time, become more creative, maybe find some more joy in the little things, the first thought that you're going to have, especially as an entrepreneur, is, well, I'm just going to will myself to do it. I'm going to do it with willpower, right? I'm going to put in the work. I'm not going to do this before bed, and I'm not going to do this in the morning, whatever else it might be. And then you realize that willpower doesn't work. Now, for like the 0.1%, maybe, but for the 99%, probably everyone watching this video, willpower is not going to work, because it'll work for a little bit, right? But then it won't maintain. It won't be sustainable. Why? Because if you don't change the underlying habits, if you don't change the underlying approach to those things, then you're always going to go back, right? That's just in our human nature. Willpower doesn't work. Accountability does, and building systems around that stuff does. So what did I actually do to decrease my screen time, increase my efficiency, and also just overall joy with how I was spending my time? Some of us have a lot of time to play with here, and some of us, you might have 20 minutes. You might have kids and a job and sports and all of this stuff, but you still can take advantage of this stuff. The first thing is buffers. Putting buffers into your day. What that means is a set time after you wake up and a set time before you go to bed that don't involve screens. Now, the amount of positive effects on your life for doing this, I couldn't even explain to you, and I obviously, being not that into this stuff, probably don't even know all the positive effects, but what I can tell you is that screens before bed, keeping your screens by your bed, not only is it bad for your eyes, bad for your sleep, but mentally, you're consuming all of this negativity right before, right? What about in the morning? You want the first thing you do in the morning to be checking the news or checking your work emails or your text messages? Those are never positive, especially if somebody was reaching out to you in the middle of the night or early in the morning. Those are not positive messages. So here's an idea. Start out your day with the positive stuff, right? Go to the gym, read your Bible, stretch, something that is going to have a positive impact on your day that sets you up for success so that you can then handle all of the negativity, because that's going to happen either way, but you can handle it with poise. So that's the first thing I did. Buffer in the morning, buffer at night. Now, once you do that, the next thing is, well, what do I do with this new time, right? And that's a tough one. I'm still trying to figure that out. But what I can tell you is that it forces you, again, into the creativity zone, because there's so many things you can do without screens, whether it's forcing you to hang out more with friends, get more exercise, read books, right? Whatever it might be, the positive change is there. Mentally, it's getting you out of the negativity zone and into positivity, right? And that's a huge one that I think anybody can implement in their lives. Now, here's the last thing with all of this, right? Why am I talking about this? Why do you care? Well, I'm fairly certain that every single person that's watching this video, or at least that's made it this far, cares about how much time they spend on screens. You don't want to do it, right? Just like so many other things that you wish you could avoid, addictions, right? And things like that, you want to avoid it, but you just don't know how. And I know that 99% of the world is in that position because we've been forced into these screen addictions and things like that. All of this is coming from a challenge that I recently did that was a 7-day challenge all about reducing that screen time. And the whole point of it is that we want this thing, but we just don't have the mechanics and the desire behind it. And so if you can implement that buffer and just become aware. By the way, the best thing that you can do to improve anything is find the measurable aspect of that thing, right? So for example, when I wanted to lose weight, the most effective, by far, the most effective possible thing I could do is weigh myself every day. That's it. Even if I was eating candy bars every night before bed, weighing myself every day is what helped me lose weight because I was aware. On your phone, super simple way to do this. You probably can't see my phone screen, but right on my front phone screen, I've got my screen time right here. It shows how much time I've spent on screens, and it shows where that time has been spent. And if you just put that up on your phone, you become aware, and it becomes uncomfortable really fast. You're like, holy crap, I spent 2.5 hours on Instagram today. Something's gotta change, right? Then you take that into the minute things like, hey, guess what? You don't have to pull your phone out every time there's a 30-second gap in life, right? Every time you're at a stoplight, every time you're waiting for the microwave. Again, I'm talking to myself here, right? You can slowly improve those things by building up these habits and becoming aware of them. And then the final stage would be connecting with other people who also want to improve on this stuff and doing that cool thing called accountability. At the end of the day, The reason why this pertains to my business, you, and all other entrepreneurs is that we're in this thing for freedom. And we think of freedom naturally because of what the world has implanted in our heads as making $1 million and buying a mansion. And I would argue to anybody watching this video right now that freedom is being in a place like this on a Wednesday, getting to do what you want when you want to do it. And you can't do that if your face is buried in a screen. If you're addicted to the TV shows and the social media apps and you can't go away from service every once in a while. And it doesn't have to be the woods, right? Whatever that looks like for you, we're in this thing for freedom. And freedom at its core is having the time to spend how you want to spend it and not being forced into things that have been pushed on you by other people, by big tech, or whatever else it might be. I think it's important. My life has changed a lot since I've become more aware of this stuff. So I thought I would make this video, even though it has nothing to do with making a bunch of money and really doesn't have that much to do with real estate, because I think it can help you, because it's helped me a lot. So hopefully that's got you on the right track. Just be aware and start creating, right? Spend that time. If you can save yourself an hour a day, and in that hour, you can start writing, right? You can start filming. You can start thinking. You can start building. If you did that for an hour a day, just an hour a day, your life will drastically change in the next 12 months. Drastically. I hope that's helpful. I'll see you guys in the next video.